The Atlanta Braves offense on Thursday gave us a reminder of what 2023 felt like as they pounded out 6 home runs and a 15-3 win over the Reds. They're going to need to continue that hot hitting as they go down to Miami, where the Braves cannot let up at all, especially with the return of Ozzie Albies. Hopefully that good offense continues. We'll take a look at everything happening around the league and those NL wildcard races, as well as the AL wildcard race that is really tight. All that on today's episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on social media at Shortstop Check out the podcast at LockedOn_Braves. Subscribe on YouTube if you're new. Please hit that thumbs up button, as it does help the show a ton. Whenever you do that, leave me a comment down below. Had some of you that said you left a comment just to help out the algorithms. Hey, I enjoy the extra conversation down there, but I appreciate that as well. Also, if you're listening on the audio version, you leave me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. On today's episode, we'll touch on the 15-3 win on Thursday over the Cincinnati Reds, the home run parade happening for the Atlanta Braves. Will that continue with the return of Ozzie Albies? We'll get into that later in the episode. And in the middle, we'll talk about everything happening around the league, the division races, who's clinching a postseason spot, what do the wild card races look like, and that guy Shohei Ohtani did something pretty special as well that we'll discuss. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. The Atlanta Braves do come back and win a series over the Reds in pretty fine fashion with a 15-3 win, a season-high run scored total for the Atlanta Braves in 2023, and something that, or in 2024, something that it felt like the Braves did every week in 2023. There haven't been too many times this year where you have come away from a game or a 2-game stretch like the Braves just had. And honestly, on Tuesday, they scored 5 runs. That feels like a ton this year. But you don't come away from too many games this year feeling like you did in 2023, where it was just easy. You saw these types of games almost weekly, where the Braves offense just blew out their opponent, and especially an opponent that they should blow out. And again, I want to be positive because this is a positive outcome. But again, I think we're all going to be looking back at this season if the Braves missed the postseason and say, why didn't you do 6 home runs, 4 3-run homers is not something you expect every game. But why did you not take advantage of these types of games against pitchers like this? We've seen so many times this year where bad pitchers having bad seasons are able to just dominate the Braves, but that was not the case in this game, as the offense was able to do exactly what they needed to do. And sometimes, Chris Sale is on the mound and you feel like you don't need to do much. I talked about this yesterday. I said, no matter what happens with Chris Sale, who did not have his best game, but still managed to get through 5 innings, only 2 earned runs allowed. But I said, despite whatever is happening on the mound, you just continue to add on, put this game away. And that's exactly what the offense did. Ramon Laureano, Matt Olson, Jorge Soler, and Michael Harris all had 3-run homers on the day. Olson and Michael Harris each homered twice. Great to see it from those 2 guys. And I posted this on X at Shortstop Ball if you want to follow me there, where I give out every now and then some good nuggets like this. But I talked about Matt Olson. If you take out the month of July, and look, I know you can't do that. That's cherry picking. Take out the worst month for any player, and his numbers are going to look better. But clearly, the month of July is an outlier that was just awful, dreadful for Matt Olson. You take that out and look at Matt Olson's numbers on the year. He's slashing .254, .337, .466 with an .803 OPS. Now, yes, we still expect more than that out of Matt Olson, but it's maybe not the dreadful year that a lot of Braves fans think it has been, again, outside of that month of July. And a 24% strikeout rate is really good, and that's what it has been, again, taking out that month, and a 10% walk rate. So, again, I know you can't do this. The entire thing counts, but you take out that one really bad month, and Matt Olson's been a really good player. And I also think, and you can say this is an excuse if you want to, I think Matt Olson suffered as much, if not more than anybody, from the dead baseballs in the first half of the season. Go back, if you don't want to, but you go back and just think in your mind. I wouldn't go back and watch it. I don't advise that. How many times in the first half of the season did Matt Olson crush a baseball that died on the warning track? How many of those patented opposite field, left center field shots that we see from Matt Olson just die at the warning track? I know they talked about it at the middle of the season, the fact that Matt Olson hadn't hit any opposite field home runs. It's not because of lack of effort. He was crushing baseballs that way, just like he did the year before. He just wasn't getting the carry on the baseball that we're used to. So again, I'm not sitting here trying to make an excuse for Matt Olson. Maybe I am, but I think for the most part, he has been the Matt Olson that you wanted this year, not to that MVP level, but he certainly has been really good. And he's been excellent over the last month and a half now since the end of July, and OPS over 9,000. And so that is certainly great to see. Got a chance to get to 30 home runs on the year now. He's at 90 RBI on the season, and it did not look like that at the halfway mark that he was going to come close to approaching those numbers. So certainly great to see from Matt Olson, and hopefully it continues. And if the Braves are going to get anywhere in these last couple of weeks, if they're going to get into the postseason, you're going to need Matt Olson to stay hot like that. And you're going to need Marcell Ozuna to find that home run stroke again. You're going to need Jorge Soler to be the guy that they traded for. Michael Harris, on down and down. These guys have got to step up. We can talk about the injuries, but it's also the fact that a lot of the Braves' big hitters who have been in there have not been producing. But that was not the case on Thursday, as you saw Michael Harris with a huge game, a monster game. He and Jorge Soler helping my fantasy baseball team in the semifinals this week. So thank you so much for that. But again, if you can get those guys going at the top, and then you get Ozzie Albies back, and you get Razor Ramon just crushing baseballs, as he had, again, another big home run on the day, just missed a home run the night before, suddenly this lineup looks pretty potent and looks a little bit deeper. And again, if you can get those catchers going, whether Travis d'Arnaud or Sean Murphy, you're talking 6-7 hitters in this lineup that, at least on paper, based on their track record, should be really, really good. Now, you didn't need that many runs on this day because you did have Chris Sale pitching, and even though it wasn't his best game, 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 walks, just 2 earned runs allowed, 6 strikeouts on 93 pitches. And I think if you're a Braves fan and you're looking at the Baseball Savant player breakdown for him, you're seeing that velocity down 2 miles per hour, and you are obviously and rightfully concerned for a guy who has not thrown this much in a long time, a guy that has battled injuries over the last 4 years. I think there is reason to be concerned. But he talked about it after the game, and he said he's not worried about it. It was a hot day, an early game, and he just didn't have a good feel for that fastball. So I'm not going to concern myself with it. His last start out, I mentioned the fact that he took his velocity up a notch going against the Dodgers. So he also just didn't need it, especially when the Braves put up all those runs. You could dial it back a little bit to just try to command, but the command honestly was not quite there either. So again, it was not a great start for Chris Sale, and he still only gave up 2 earned in 5 innings, and he had 18 whiffs. So even a start like this for Chris Sale, where the velocity is not there, doesn't quite have a feel for his fastball, that slider is still good enough no matter what else is going on to get swings and misses, get outs, get through 5 innings, and give your team a chance to win. And the fact that the offense once again added on late, you didn't have to use any of your big bullpen arms, and that is great. The more you can do that to try to get those guys rested for hopefully not the Marlins series, but if you have to in that Marlins series, but more so for that Mets and Royals series at the end of the year, you want to try to have your bullpen arms as fresh as possible. So any of wins like this that you can get where you don't have to use your big bullpen arms is a definite big win this time of year. And we talked a lot about the offensive side of things and the pitching, but there was a huge double play early in this game when it was still close. You had Orlando Arcia and Whit Merrifield turn an incredible double play. I thought they had no shot off the bat, and that was going to be a run scored if they don't turn it, but somehow they do. A great feed by Orlando Arcia, a great turn from Whit Merrifield, who his defense has been really good at second base. Nobody wants to talk about it, but you have seen the difference defensively between Ozzie Albies and Whit Merrifield and what we've been missing defensively at second base. I say all that. Ozzie Albies is my second baseman. That's where he's going to be. But look, if you are just an honest observer of second base defense, it is it is a vastness between what Ozzie Albies has given you here the last couple of years and what we have seen from Whit Merrifield there at second base. So there have been so many double plays I feel like he's turned that Ozzie just doesn't turn. He can't turn with the weak arm and just his long delivery. There's been so many double plays that Ozzie has not been able to turn. I did not mean to turn this into a pessimistic conversation about Ozzie Albies' defense, but I more so just wanted to highlight how great Whit Merrifield has been there. We'll see. Maybe the Braves still shift him over there to second base late in games. That would obviously tell you something how the Braves feel about Ozzie as defense at second base, but I think it's been that dramatic of a difference. Let me know your comments. What do you think? Has Whit Merrifield been that much better defensively than Ozzie Albies that maybe you think about him as a defensive replacement late in games? Would the Braves even do that? I don't think they would, but I wouldn't mind hearing your thoughts on that. All right, next we'll take a trip around the league, everything happening around Major League Baseball, update on the standings, who's clinched a postseason spot, and we'll talk a lot about that wild card race. What do the Braves need to do to get into the postseason? We'll discuss all that here next. For most of us who like collecting cards, the idea of spending $2,000 or more on a Ronald Acuna Jr. or a Mike Trout rookie auto or a Shohei Ohtani, obviously his price is going to be through the roof right now. I loved collecting, but I got 3 kids and a wife. I got mouths to feed. I cannot go out spending that much money on cards. Thanks to slab packs from arenaclub.com, it's now possible to score gem mints for a fraction of their retail price. Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. After your pools are revealed, they'll immediately be placed in your showroom for safekeeping, selling, trading, or auction. The Arena Club grading process is accurate, fast, and transparent, with a full grade rationale provided and an explanation of how your card was scored. Whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club is the card collecting platform you have to check out. Right now, you can get 10% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB. That's arenaclub.com/LockedOnMLB, code LockedOnMLB for 10% off your first purchase. Thank you for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. Go make your second listen to Locked On MLB podcast, solely getting you covered for everything happening around Major League Baseball, just like we're about to do on this episode. But he does it every day over there on Locked On MLB. Check it out on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. We got one more show coming your way on the podcast this week. Obviously, me and Grant will have you covered on Locked On Sports Atlanta with some postcast over the weekend. We'll have our mailbag episode Friday afternoon, probably around 1 or 2 p.m. Central. So look out for that and join me if you can. All right, let's get into our Around the League segment as the season is winding down. Less than 2 weeks away. Look, I want this Braves team to make the postseason. Certainly do. This year's felt like a grind. I don't know about you. I love baseball, and I will watch it all year round. This season has been a bit of a drag for many different reasons. We talked about it several weeks ago. The fact you take out the most exciting players on your favorite team, it's going to be a bit of a downer of a season, but still, Braves got a chance here down the stretch if they can take care of business. The Yankees are up 4 games on the Orioles. The Orioles are 3-7 in their last 10 games. They did get a walk-off win on Thursday after they blew a game in the 9th inning. They just let Kimbrel go. That bullpen is a mess, and it is costing them right now, but they're still pretty safely in the postseason picture despite falling back in the AL East. The Guardians are up 6.5 on the Royals and the Twins after they walked off the Twins on Thursday, so they're looking pretty in the AL Central. The Astros are up 4.5 on the Mariners. Those 2 teams have a 3-game series in Seattle next week, so depending on what happens over the weekend, that'll be or could potentially be a very entertaining series. The Phillies are up 7 on the Mets. They got an opportunity to clinch things this weekend, at least a postseason berth, as they're playing the Mets, but they didn't really do it, or they did not do it on Thursday night. Braves are hoping that the Phillies can get things done this weekend. The Brewers clinched their division already, first ones to clinch a division, and the Dodgers are up 4 on the Padres. Those 2 teams have a 3-game series in LA next week. So again, could have a couple of interesting division races, head-to-head races happening next week, as well as the big Braves and Mets series. You look at the postseason picture, who's punched their ticket so far. The Yankees have clinched a playoff spot. I mentioned the Brewers. They've clinched the division. The Guardians clinched the playoff spot. with their walk-off win on Thursday. The Dodgers clinched the playoff spot with their big win over the Marlins, scoring 20 runs. Braves are hoping that they can do that to the Marlins this weekend. So you got 4 teams who are guaranteed in the postseason at this moment. Several other teams are looking pretty good, like they're going to make it. The NL wildcard race, obviously what most of us here are excited about and are thinking about every day, every moment of the day. The Padres are up 2 games on the Mets, and the Diamondbacks who are up 2 games on the Braves. Just got to be honest, at this point, a week and a half left, being 2 games back does not feel great. If you did not have that Mets series on the schedule, I'd probably feel even worse, but you at least control your own destiny if you can win those games. And obviously you got to win more of those, win those other games in the Marlins series and the Royals series to end it. But the Braves still do control their own destiny, but it is going to be a tough battle. You have got to get things done. Last year, 84 wins got you into the postseason, and the Diamondbacks did and went all the way to the World Series with that. This year, you're likely going to have to get to 88 wins or more. The Diamondbacks and the Mets already at 84 wins, the Braves at 82. You're likely going to have to get 88 or more wins just to get into one of those 3 wild card spots this year. And that would be so 2024 Braves for it to be a year where you got to get 90 wins to get into a wild card spot, something you're not going to see most seasons, but it just feels like that type of year for the Braves, where it's going to take something incredible to keep them out of the postseason, whether it's just a ton of injuries, a lot of batted ball luck not going their way, and just a couple of other teams who went ridiculous down the stretch like the Mets have, the Padres, the Diamondbacks. They just pushed them out because they're playing amazing baseball. In the AL wildcard race, the Orioles are on the top by a good bit despite their recent rough stretch. The Royals are behind them despite going 4-6 in their last 10 games, and the Tigers are 8-2 in their last 10 games, which now has them tied with the Twins for the final AL wildcard spot. So you got a couple of wildcard teams. I wish the NL wildcard teams were struggling as much as some of the AL wildcard teams right now, but that is not the case. But it has allowed the Tigers to get into the postseason picture, and that was one of my sleeper teams coming into the year. Now I had them as a sleeper to win that division, but I thought the Tigers could make big improvements this year with that pitching staff, and they certainly have. It's been a good story down the stretch, and the AL Central has been much better than a lot of people thought coming into the season. So that's your postseason pitcher right now. Now, the biggest story happening around Major League Baseball, Shohei Ohtani in that big win for the Marlins, or for the Dodgers over the Marlins on Thursday. Ohtani goes 6 for 6. He has 3 home runs. He gets to 50-50, and he has 10 RBI in the game. Just truly incredible. Look, I feel like because of who he signed for, because of all the attention he gets, that we've all kind of grown leery of Shohei Ohtani and just the talk that he gets. I hope it doesn't keep us from just recognizing the incredible talent that he is, because it truly is remarkable what he's doing. Whether or not you think he's getting different baseballs than the Atlanta Braves are, he's a truly unique talent and individual. And a year after Ronald goes 40-70, he goes 50-50. Hopefully Ronald can come back and go 60-60 and one-up him again. But again, just a remarkable year for Shohei Ohtani, who's an incredible player, an incredible talent. I know we all want to cheer against him. It's a thing just to do. But again, it has been just an amazing year for him, and he's not even pitching. Now, I don't think he can do this. If he does this while he's pitching next year and he's pitching like a Cy Young, then hands down, he's the greatest player to ever play the game. And he may be anyway, but just, again, remarkable talent, remarkable player doing amazing things. He's just unfortunately doing it in a Dodgers uniform. Why couldn't he just stay in Anaheim and continue to do it with the Angels? I would feel much better respecting him and enjoying him. But again, don't let your ire for him take away just an incredible talent that he is and an amazing season that he is having. It makes me miss Ronald, because we all had thoughts of him coming into this year and having a 50-50 season, and then we have to watch somebody else do it on a team that the Braves have gone head-to-head against in big spots over the last several years. But that is some of what's happening around Major League Baseball as, again, the season gets ready to wind down. And next, we'll turn our attention to the Marlins series. And the Braves have put themselves in a spot where you got to sweep. And sweeps aren't easy, and you're going to have to win at least 5 in a row going into that Mets series. But that's what has to happen over the weekend in Miami. You're going to get some help with Ozzie Albies coming back, but how can the Braves get it done? We'll discuss that here next. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel here on the podcast because they are America's #1 sports book. We got a little something different for you now through September 22nd, which is approaching here quickly over the weekend. So it's your last chance to get in on this. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. As the Braves season is winding down, maybe you want to turn your attention to the Falcons in the NFL. This can help you do that. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. And if that's not enough, be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's Double Your Winnings for all of Sunday. Coming up, you got plenty of opportunities, again, with the Major League Baseball season winding down. You got college football, NFL. You can check out all that over at FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make sure you also visit FanDuel.com/PlaySafe for tools and resources to help you stay in control of the way you play. Again, that's FanDuel.com/LockedOn to download America's #1 sportsbook. The Atlanta Braves head down to Miami for a 3-game series. And look, we don't have to say it anymore. Every game the rest of the way is must win. I mean, it's not hyperbole to say the Braves just cannot afford to lose any more games. At the most, you can maybe afford to lose 1 or 2 games the rest of the way, maybe 3, but that's it. Your margin for error is very, very slim, and you've put yourself in this situation because you've lost games that you should win to teams like the Marlins, the White Sox, the Rockies, on and on and on, the Nationals, teams that you should beat even with a depleted lineup. And the Braves haven't done that. And that's why they find themselves in the spot that they are in, where they cannot afford to lose any more games, but especially going up against the Marlins. You cannot drop a game in this series. This is a AAA Marlins team that you are facing. And these are games that you must have. I talked about this on the postcast, which we recorded earlier on Thursday night. Make sure you go back and give that a listen. Good discussion with me and Grant McCauley there. I think it was anyway. But on there, I talked about the fact every game the rest of the way has to be treated like a must-win Game 7 postseason. If Charlie Morton doesn't have it in the 4th inning of a game, get somebody up and ready to go. That has to be the mentality the rest of the way. You cannot let games get away from you. If you see a starter is struggling, if you see a reliever that is struggling, look, you put Pierce Johnson into a game, in a close game right now, and suddenly that curveball just isn't working, you better have Dylan Lee, Joe Jimenez, somebody up ready to go to come in and bail him out if needed. All these games have to be treated like postseason games the rest of the way. And it is going to take some managing on the job of Brian Snitker, because you're going to have some guys on your bench now that can come in and play a role for you, because whether it is Gio Urshela or Whit Merrifield going to the bench, you are going to have guys that can come up and get some hits for you, whether Jared Kelenic coming in to face a righty, whatever the case may be. Brian Snitker is going to have to do some managing down the stretch if the Braves are going to get into the postseason. And I feel like you have to treat every single one of these games as if it is a Game 7, and you absolutely must win. And that has to be the mentality going up against the Marlins. Yes, these are games you should win, but these are games you have lost and let get away from you all year long. That cannot happen this weekend. This has to be a sweep. You cannot go into that Mets series back more than 2 games, which is what you are right now. And I think you need to go into that series at least just 1 game back, if not tied. If you go in 1 game back and you win the series, and that you finish the season series with a head-to-head winning record over them, then that gives you another little edge. That's like being 1 game up on the Mets at that point. But you can't lose any more ground to the Mets, and you need to at least pick up 1 game over the weekend. Of course, you're going to need some help from the Phillies to be able to do that, but you're going to have to pick up at least 1 game on the Mets this weekend to give yourself the best chance going into that series, facing a Mets team that is really good and playing really good baseball. But the Braves, it starts this weekend. You cannot let one of these games get away against the Marlins. You have to win every game. Now, breaking down this series really quickly, the Marlins offense, Connor Norby, top prospect from the Orioles that they got in a trade deadline deal. He has an 853 OPS in his last 24 games with 6 home runs. He also has a ton of strikeouts over that stretch, but he has delivered with some power for the Marlins since joining them. Otto Lopez hitting 330 in his last 26 games with 10 doubles. Jesus Sanchez has swung the bat better as of late, or well as of late, despite not showing a lot of power, even though we know that's in there for him. And Xavier Edwards was looking like one of their brightest stars before getting hurt at the end of August, and coming back, he hasn't been as good. But again, he was having a really good season before the injury. So those are some names to watch for the Marlins offense. But again, this has to be a series that you just go in there and you have to dominate. You have to. This is your last chance. If you go in there and you drop one of these games to the Marlins and you go into that Met series back at least 2 games, you're going to have to sweep at that point. And that is a lot to ask against a team like the Mets that has been playing really, really good baseball. And you look at the pitching matchups in this series for the Braves, you're going to have Charlie Morton, you're going to have Max Fried, and then you're going to have potentially Grant Holmes. This is what it's scheduled to be right now. So you have 2 of your worst starters going in this series as well. Now, Morton has been better as of late, especially over the last 7 starts. But you're going to need your offense to play. You're going to need your offense to do what they did in that Red series. And look, I know they dropped the game on Tuesday, but at least the offense scored 5 runs. You are going to need the offense to win you some of these games and to make some of these games much more relaxed and easy wins so that you can save some of that bullpen. So again, the offense has really struggled all year, and it's hurt the Braves in these spots. That cannot be the case this weekend against the Marlins. You have to be able to score runs, give your pitchers plenty of runs, and make these easy wins for the Atlanta Braves. Don't know who all is throwing right now for the Marlins, especially on that Saturday game. The other 2 guys are guys I've never even heard of. Just do what you're supposed to do and go win these ball games. You do look at Bellazo, the guy who's going to be pitching on Friday, 24-year-old right-handed pitcher, has a 3.70 ERA and a 1.29 whip, but it's a 5.08 expected ERA on the season. Just 39 strikeouts and 58 in the 3rd innings. 3 starts in September. It's a 2.16 ERA and a 1.14 whip. 4 walks to 7 strikeouts. He's 0-2 in that stretch. So he has been throwing better in September, but overall the expected stats or expected numbers don't really like him. It's a 4-seamer that averages 89.1 miles per hour. Cutter, changeup, curveball. The changeup and curve have some good whiff rates on it. The sweeper as well, a pitch that he uses against righties. Just a 29% ground ball rate. So a guy that lets the ball get in the air, but this is not the same ballpark in Cincinnati. A little bit harder to get him out in Miami, despite what the Dodgers did there on Thursday. Bottom line, go out and get this guy. Again, it's pitchers like this that you have let dominate you all year long. That was not necessarily the case in Cincinnati, although I know Jacob Junis had a good game there. Just go out and do what you're supposed to do. You're getting Ozzie Albies back in this lineup. The other guys in the lineup, Soler, Michael Harris, Olsen, Laureano, they've all been swinging a good bat. Carry that momentum into this series. Please, for once this year, let the offense have a good 5-6 game stretch, hopefully through the end of the season, but let the offense carry you over the weekend and rest up your pitching staff for that Mets series. That is my hope. That is my goal. It's not always that easy when we just look at it on paper. Charlie Morton, I mentioned, he'll be on the mound Friday, 7 straight starts of allowing 3 earned or less. He's been really good. He's faced the Marlins twice this year, gave up 6 earned runs to them in April, but just 1 unearned run when he faced them back in July. It's the same thing with Charlie Morton. Even in this good stretch, there's been a 1 or 2 inning stretch where he has just lost it. He's lost the command. He hits a batter, he walks a batter, and you just hope that doesn't follow with a 2 or 3 run home run. And if he can avoid that, then Charlie Morton can be really, really good, like he has been over the last month and a half. And you really need that to continue. But in my mind, the pitching has carried you all season long. In this series in particular, I want to see the offense carry you. I want to see the offense continue what they did in that Red series and just pile up runs. Whether it comes by the home run or not, I want to see this offense continue to have good at-bats, to pile up pressure inning after inning and put some runs on the board and make it about them, that the team wins because of them, and not put so much pressure on this pitching staff where, again, you're throwing two of your worst starters. Not that Charlie Morton's been bad necessarily, but you're throwing your fourth and fifth starter. You need your offense to step up in this series, and hopefully that is the time for it to happen. And they got a chance. Look, this team is good enough. You still have everything in front of you to get it done. As much as a grind as this season has been, as I talked about at the top, as much as it has been a tough season to watch as a Braves fan, because so much of this fun that made this team fun has been injured and out, you still have an opportunity in front of you. And I still believe that this team can get it done, but you got to take care of business this weekend to set you up for a chance in the final week of the season. Before we head out of here, though, I did want to mention one of my favorite Braves of all time. Charlie Culberson announced his retirement, so I just wanted to throw that out there. I know Braves country loves Charlie Culberson, so go give him some love wherever he is, social media, Instagram, whatever. Just let Charlie Morton know how much we loved him here. I loved him here. Some big moments, and again, just genuinely seemed like a great human being. So wanted to mention that, Charlie Culberson announcing his retirement. Thank you so much to Brown Cow, chair at the bandwagon, making it in here from beginning to end. Appreciate you being here. Alaro, Bond, Johnny, Little Lee. I appreciate the discussion, the wild one. Annoying hiking trail. I don't know that I've seen that one in there. Braves Thrills was here from beginning to end as well. Really appreciate you all joining me here. We'll be back live tomorrow afternoon for our mailbag episode, so make sure you join me for that as well. And thank you for making Locked On Braves your first listen of the day. Go check out Locked On MLB for your second listen. Check out the Braves and Marlins on SiriusXM on your SXM app. Search Braves. That will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Subscribe on YouTube if you're new. Hit that thumbs up button. Leave me a comment. All that good stuff. And make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast. And we will talk to you next time.